'Tis I, dumb Thanos. I'm here to get my Infinity Stone.
You'll never get the Infinity Stone! Ah!
I'm gonna kill you now, because you have the stone of comedy inside of you. Oh crap. Alright. At long last, I have the stone of comedy. And now with the power of all one infinity stones, the stone of comedy, I can snap my fingers and half of the entertainment in the universe will be done. Come on. I can't snap with my left hand. I can do it with my right hand, but I can't snap with my... What? No! No! I want to snap with my left hand. I knew I should have gotten the right-handed glove.
Back to Nasty Opinions. I'm your host, Dumb Thanos. This is the skull of my last victim. There's still super glue on this? What? I killed him because I wanted to get my hands on the comedy stone. But apparently it's worthless because I can't snap with my left hand. That's the best I can do. Well, anyway, we should probably put this fella away for a second, because what I want to talk about today... Shoot, where should I put it? What I want to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hold on a second. No way, I almost got it. Don't worry about me, I'm just over here being a dumb Thanos. I have the closest thing to a script I've ever had in any of my videos.
Today's Nasty Opinion is about how Black Panther was the best Marvel movie. Alright, let's start with the basics.
Seriously though, today's episode is how Black Panther is unironically the best Marvel movie in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Black Panther is the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for mainly for the simple reason of its plot. See, there's an archetypical storyline that's used in a lot of story arcs called the hero's journey, and it's this it's basically the idea of like you're the hero, you lose something, you have to work to gain it back, you have to, in a spiritual sense, you have to die, then you have to come back being able to balance what you had control of and what you didn't have control of, and now you can tackle the problem that you weren't able to tackle before. And it's like, it's such a quintessential like plot device in like every story. That's basically what we call this story arc. You know, mainly like a real story arc is just you need the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution, right? Well, the hero's journey essentially follows that. But basically, very specifically, what it deals with is the idea that there is something that no matter how good you are right now, you cannot conquer it. You cannot beat it. There's nothing you can do about it. The only way you can work through is you can work yourself to death, getting better, die in a spiritual sense, in a sense that like the person you were is completely gone. Come back as this person being able to balance both sides, the side that was the problem, like the internal problem, not like whatever the external struggle is, but the internal problem. You're able to balance a certain skill that you didn't have before that you need to solve the problem, which was the internal problem, and what you did have before, what you were working with, and you're able to balance those. Now you're able to actually get through the struggle. And basically, this is a very familiar kind of thing. This is it more or less is Jesus' story in the Bible. It happened with, oh yeah, spoiler alert, it happened with Harry Potter. he died and came back. It happened with Jack Sparrow. He died and came back. It happened with Luke Skywalker. He didn't so much die as it was the losing of his hand that was a sign that he needed to work harder, and that was his spiritual death. It's happened in a lot of stories. I mean, that essentially what like Iron Man. That movie was sort of that, except his hero's journey was kind of invalidated by all the other movies. Then Thor was a lot like that, and then his hero's journey was also kind of invalidated. The thing that really sucked about like the Marvel movies, at least the first few years of the cinematic universe, is they kept undoing the hero's journeys of all the characters so they could keep developing them again and again. And you can't really do that. You gotta change the context, change the spectrum in order for that to work, which they didn't really do very well. But basically, it's the idea of this hero's journey, and like, why is it better in? Well, it happens with Captain America too, like his whole like the super soldier stuff going on. But it's the idea of like the idea is like, why is it better in Black Panther than in those movies? And it's because in Black Panther, it was the reasoning behind it. Sure, Iron Man did it to save his own life, like that he needed to start doing that. That was the reason. Thor did it because he was put in a situation where he had to get back home. Captain America did it because he wanted to try to do something. That's why Captain America is also a really good Marvel movie. But Black Panther, it's the idea of this hero's journey, but it's also a lot broader than that. It tackles like ideas of selfishness versus generosity. It tackles like the idea of forgiveness, which is something that you don't necessarily see in a lot of Marvel movies. Usually it's just kill the bad guy, do the stuff, get the thing, and end the evil, make it die. And then, but in this story, it was a lot different. It was much more. It was centered around the hero's journey of like, he had like T'Challa, Black Panther. He had like everything they needed. Everything was going fine. Like it was all going well. But then they got to the situation where suddenly, he went from like so quickly. He went from everything being perfectly fine to being in the most desperate situation of his life, and he had to recover from that. And see, one of the things that's really good about like the way it happened with Black Panther is it's a very realistic movie, allegorically speaking, because in Thor, well, how did he go back? Well, easy. He had to learn to be a selfless person so that he would be worthy of the hammer. And that way he was able to take down the giant Loki robot. And it wasn't anyone else helping him. It was all him. And then there's Captain America. Like with him, he was just randomly chosen by an idealistic and selfless, not selfless, but a very sympathetic scientist. He was just happened to be chosen. With Iron Man, his hero's journey was just because he had to adapt to living this way. And it's just like, none of those are like very realistic. They're very much like superhero, in which the allegory is exaggerated, like superhero stories where it's all about that. Whereas Black Panther, the idea is he's just supposed to be like a normal dude who's fighting as hard as he possibly can. With the others, they have some superpower that make them have this ability to just automatically beat like anything. But in Black Panther, he's just a normal guy in this suit. He's like basically like a weird version of Batman in Marvel, you know? And like he just had to learn to prepare for this in a normal human way, making friends, being a reasonable, rational person. And it showed like even from there was change to still happen. And so when he died, when he fell off the waterfall, or when he was pushed off the waterfall by Killmonger, he was rescued by the other tribe, and that's because of like how he prepared for it. It's a very realistic story. It's not about some superhero in the nick of time getting their power to save the day. It's about a normal person going through this extreme struggle of trying to like keep everyone safe, keep everyone happy, and suddenly this huge threat comes along, and it takes over like everything that person stood for, and they have to. There's no way to do anything but fight a Killmonger, so that's what he has to do, and he ends up losing, and he has to end up coming back, and like it's all about like the humanity behind the superhero rather than the powers behind the superhero. And so like that's like the idea there with like the plot from the perspective of like the protagonist and stuff. But then like with the characters, mainly with the hero and the villain, I really liked the way they did the characters. Like T'Challa, the idea is he's being set up as like this character. He's like, no, he's got everything under control. He's got everything handled. Everything's perfectly fine. He's doing great. And then like it's the character development comes in when the Sun Prom, like in every possible way, just happens to take over and destroy everything because another person went through their own hero's journey to a certain degree, just in the wrong direction, to where like they planned out everything. They had this scheme and they had everything just to the last detail, and then they just overthrew like everything because they had prepared themselves. And so T'Challa had to like adapt to that, and that's where he had to go through his hero's journey. And like the idea is like his motivation is because it's not for himself. He could easily run away and be safe. It's his motivation is to help everyone around him and to protect the people he cares about and to protect the honor of the throne. And whereas Killmonger's motivation is a lack of forgiveness from an unspeakable act that happened when he was a child. And like there's a lot of forgiveness in this movie, like because of Killmonger's lack of forgiveness, that's what sets him down this path, and because of and Black Panther's the whole thing's like he has to learn to forgive his father. Like that's the essential final leap that completes his hero's journey. It's not just being able to adapt and being able to be generous, it's being able to be selfless and forgiving. That's like the whole thing that T'Challa hasn't fully achieved, and that's where the hero's journey comes in. And like the motivation, like Marvel's very good at creating villains with realistic motivations or with sympathetic motivations. Like Killmonger, like clearly you can see, oh yeah, well he just like he wanted like his father back because like that was the only person he had. And then like when that father's taken away, he needs some way to fix everything, and he can't like he has to go, and he realizes like his whole destiny being a part of Wakanda, and then like he has to return there, and it's like this whole thing of like it because of the injustice that was done to him. You cannot blame him for the way he feels. It's just like the way he chooses to act, the way he chooses to set his own hero's journey based on that. And like that's the whole thing about like like his character. It's all about like he went through his own hero's journey. He went through like all of the challenges, and he bettered himself in a way that like in every single way except from a moral standpoint. So he's essentially like, because the idea of the hero is to be an archetype for like the perfect person you should become after your hero's journey. And like he became that except for the morality, and that's the one thing he was missing, and that's what T'Challa needed to achieve in order to beat him. And it's like this, if you look at like Harry Potter, same thing with Harry and Voldemort. It's like the thing that Dumbledore always said was the thing that separated Harry from Voldemort was that Harry's ability to have love. I mean, well, Voldemort was literally a psychopath, but like it's that general idea here, and like it was just this incredible narrative there. And like that ties in like to the themes too. Like the characters are directly related to the themes of like improvement and forgiveness, and like you need to become better. You need to become like a better person, and like So usually, last time I did plot, characters, theme, aesthetic, and music for Frozen. Music, yeah, there's not much to say about it, but the aesthetic, it was alright. There's not much to say about the aesthetic either. Like, it's Marvel. It's gonna be good. But yeah, like that. This was like such a like an amazing story in my eyes. Like it was like this idea of like all these themes and all these like the themes were the characters. The characters weren't made to be their own like necessarily individuals. They were made to carry these broad themes of learning to forgive, learning to be selfless, overcoming your obstacles and learning to adapt to them. And like the whole reason why having morality puts you above anyone without it. Like being a selfless person. And that's just like that's the whole main thing about the film. Alright, so the question still is, how is it any better than any other Marvel movie?
Alright guys, now that the intermission's over, it's time for me to explain how it's better than any other Marvel movie. The Mercy, whatever thing, from the Thanos magician guy. I don't know, doesn't really look much like his face. Okay. That guy actually looked like Voldemort now that I think about it. He looked like... Okay, I should just get fixed. If Voldemort, like, did this all the time, he totally looked like Voldemort. Anyway, let's see. Marvel movies, Black Panther. Alright. So, the question is, like, I already explained how it's an amazing narrative with all this incredible meaning and truth behind it, and like, I analyze like how the plot works and like what it means and all that, and like and so now like I need to stand by my claim that it's the best Marvel movie, the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Alright, so I would say generally accepted to be the best Marvel movies. At least, like, comparing them with, like, the newer ones, I would say Doctor Strange, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and then, of course, Infinity War, which, spoilers for Infinity War, if you haven't seen it, whatever, that's not going to stop me from spoiling it. You should, if it really matters that much, you just stop watching the video. But starting off with Infinity War, I don't think it was necessarily a very good Marvel movie. For one thing, I saw it with my friends, and when I'm with my friends, like, my analytical mindness is kind of dumbed down because I'm like, how goofy fun times, yay, ha, blah, blah. And, like, I'm all about, like, just, like, joking around, coming up with random ideas. Like, it's all about the having fun part. And it was the same thing with, like, the movie. We're always, like, cracking jokes during the movie. And, like, I felt like that might have taken away from my viewing experience. But, like, the main thing is, I felt like, well, besides Thanos, they developed Thanos, like, perfectly. Because he was the protagonist of that movie. It was not any of the individual heroes. They tried to make Iron Man sort of protagonist, but no, it was Thanos. Because he was the one who needed to go through his hero's journey of, like, losing the one thing he loves, which is Gamora, to achieve what is in his mind, like, the perfect moral truth. And that's the whole thing with that movie. It's a lot about hero's journey as well. But another dangerous one, like with how Killmonger was out of a lack of forgiveness. This one's out of an idealistic sense of what needs to happen to balance out the universe. And with Infinity War, like that was the thing. Besides Thanos, like, I would say the movie was just like, Thanos was great because, like, of the way he was developed. But, like, the other characters, I felt like none of them were really developed that well. I thought Thor was developed alright. Iron Man a little bit. But, like, I never felt any attachment to the characters when they died. Maybe it's because it's been a while since I'd watched the other movies, but, none of them were, like, developed or built on in Infinity War. It was just kind of like watching random people, like, die, like, alright. And then, so Infinity War, like, I would say Black Panther beats Infinity War by a lot.
And Doctor Strange, that's another one of a hero's journey where someone who is so arrogant and doesn't care about anything in his life except for his profession, the thing that makes him feel good because he's good at it. It's all about, now that he's lost that ability, he's falling into this depression of nothing matters in my life. I mean, it might be like a shade of arrogance or like whatever, but it's essentially just depression. Depression is gonna make you narcissistic. It's just like he's lost his ability to care anymore, and like he's looking for any way to get his life back, and he stumbles upon this journey. And that's the thing, the journey itself isn't elaborated on that much, but it's like through like this discipline and through this new sense of self-worth and selflessness, he is able to like discover like who he really is, and it's like a lot more than just being a neuroscientist or neurosurgeon. And like it's like the same idea of the hero's journey. But the thing is, I thought it was done a lot better in Black Panther, partly because of how realistic it was in Black Panther, allegorically, and how in Doctor Strange, it's a very poignant story of like learning to love life again. But it's like, I wouldn't say it's as good as Black Panther because like simply I felt like the conflict was too much exaggerated for it to feel like really suspenseful. I didn't feel that much suspense during the movie. I thought it was fun. Like Marvel movies, essentially what you can always count on is to have fun watching a movie, or at least at some point. But Infinity War was like more like they're trying to get you to cry the whole time. But like Marvel movies are supposed to be fun, and that's the thing. I felt like Black Panther, the way it was as a movie, it was fun in that same sense. And it was like satisfying, but it still held that weight of like true conflict, even though the conflict was as limited as it can be in a Marvel movie. It's just this one country. I mean, the fate of the world may hang on it, but it's just like the idea of it's just this one little country in Africa that the rest of the world doesn't care about. And yet they're able to put so much weight on that story and on that conflict that you're so invested in the outcome. So I think it definitely beats Doctor Strange. And then Guardians of the Galaxy, I would say, the first movie, I still think Black Panther is the best Marvel movie, but the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was really good because, like it was about like these 5 people who, like similarly to Doctor Strange, they didn't care about their life. They had everything worked out with like, yeah, I'm gonna be a thief, I'm gonna be a criminal because I don't care about anything. And it's the idea of these heartless, or supposedly heartless people learning to care and learning to love other people and to love, like, life and morality again. And, basically, like, it's a lovely story. But again, it's like, the balance between fun and weight, like heaviness of the story, it leans much more on fun. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was a fantastic movie, but speaking of like the best Marvel movie, I would still say Black Panther holds up as the best because of like the story, like and how realistic it is allegorically, and that's gonna be my main idea behind all of it. Like it carries like all this weight for such close, realistic themes that it blows almost every other Marvel movie way out of the water. Like, because it's the main thing is like forgiveness. In Guardians of the Galaxy, like in every Marvel movie, it's like the villain's always like killed mercilessly. But in Black Panther, T'Challa defeats Killmonger, but he doesn't want to kill him. He just like leaves him there, and then like Killmonger decides to be done with his life and kind of like lets himself go. Like, and that was just like such a beautiful like death. Like in a sense, like not in like a freaking like disturbed sense of oh yeah, it's a beautiful death. I want to see more of that death. No, it's like it like the poignancy behind like what you're supposed to be imagining. Like you're imagining this person who went through so much pain himself. Like Killmonger went through so much pain to get what he thought he deserved. to now just like have it all fade in front of him, you really like should feel bad for him. And so I think it beats Guardians in that regard as well. And then, well, with the early Marvel movies, I already explained how it's pretty much better than Iron Man, better than Thor, better than Captain America. We're not even going to bring in the Hulk movies. Not Hulk or the Incredible Hulk. Because those are probably the worst Marvel movies. What other movies? Well, the Hulk movies are the worst. I wasn't saying the Thor or Captain America, Iron Man. Anyway, what other movies? I'm forgetting other Marvel movies, probably. I don't know. Still, like, the best Marvel movie. And, see, the main reason why I thought this would be a nasty opinion, there were a few reasons. One, because most Marvel fans are probably gonna say Infinity War is the best movie simply because it has all the characters. Or two, they're probably gonna say like it's Doctor Strange because of the hero's journey and how cool the movie was or whatever. Three, they're gonna say Thor Ragnarok was because, or basically no, the one is the idea they're gonna say that some other movie is Thor Ragnarok because of the music and how fun it is. And personal disclaimer: just because I'm saying Black Panther is the best Marvel movie does not mean it's my favorite Marvel movie. My favorite's Ragnarok. And then the second reason why I thought people would hate this opinion is because because a lot of people are not gonna like the Black Panther movie. Excuse me. Because they're gonna think it's like inconsistent with having like two villains in a way. I actually think that adds on to the suspense because it's a subversion of your expectation. You're expecting this one villain to be the really bad guy, and he seems like a jokery type villain where he's just like laughing. He's like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, let's kill a guy. And then like to where you see like the true like sociopathy in him when he's like without warning threatening to kill someone, and he just has one hand. He's like holding her in a chokehold, threatening to shoot her at the same time, and it's like he seems like the perfect like Joker, unpredictable villain. And then when it turns out to be Killmonger, you're suddenly like, oh, this took like a sudden turn because Killmonger is like he appears to be like this very like misled, sophisticatedly minded person who's just like on this wrong path or whatever. He seems like a good person in the first time you meet him until I found out they poisoned the curator. And then like when it turns out that he's the main villain, like the just the rise in suspense and everything, like wow, that like it's pretty seamless in actuality. And a lot of people will think Black Panther's not that good because it's too grounded. Like they want a Marvel movie that takes place in space. Like Thor Ragnarok was able to like bring like stars together, like Thor in the movie, Hulk in the movie, all these ideas of like Sakaar and Hela and like Loki and and then at the same time concluding the Thor arc and like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like bringing the ideas of the Celestials in and like reconciling Peter and Yondu over everything. And, whereas like Black Panther is just Black Panther and Wakanda. I mean, they have like Martin Freeman, who was in Civil War. They have him. They have his character. They don't really have any of the other Avengers, I don't think, in the movie. But it like a lot of people are probably not going to think it's the best because it was too grounded and they felt like it was too underwhelming. I thought like, see, the reason why I say it's the best Marvel movie is because of the story, not because of the accuracy of the comics, not because of how epic it was, sort of because of how fun it was, but it was just the best story in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the third reason, the biggest reason, is because people were sick of how politicized Black Panther was. A lot of people, like on the left especially, were seeing it as like a very like civil rights reignition moment where it's like, yeah, we're having like a movie with like almost all black people in it, isn't that cool? Whereas like the people on like the center and the center right were like, oh, okay, whatever. And then the people on the right who just wanted something to blame the left on were like, oh, they're ruining Black Panther by politicizing it. Stop. First of all, stop being a baby, okay? Just because someone likes something for a different reason, for like a stupid way to shoehorn their political beliefs into why they like something, doesn't mean it has to ruin it for you. You come to your own judgments. You don't have to let someone else ruin your opinion. And that's the thing, like, I walked in the Black Panther, slightly worried that it was going to be like very like shoehorning like civil rights and like all those ideas into like the story, where it's all about like how like black people like affirmative action, like all that like over focusing on that. I was like a little worried that it was going to do that because it's Disney, and Disney's going to want to be progressive because the progressive audience is the biggest audience, and like I was worried that was going to take away from the story. It didn't. They sort of touched on like a lot of those ideas, but in a very balanced, rational way that like weaved seamlessly into the story. But a lot of people, of course, wanted to take it out of context so they could have something to like blame the movie for being bad, or like try to make it political themselves by saying, "Oh, the left's making it all political." Look, I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right. I don't care about that. I just wanted to watch a movie, and like, there's all these people trying to ruin it by saying that it's this huge civil rights movement, by saying, "Oh, look at it empowering people." If it empowers you, like more power to you. I'm empowering you. Well, see, that's the point of a movie. It's a hero's journey. It's supposed to feel like a very personally empowering thing. You're supposed to feel like, I can conquer the world now afterwards. You have to go through your own hero's journey. So, yeah, like that's the thing. A lot of people were like, they're like, "Oh, it's too much like empowering like the black community." Well, what's wrong with that? And see, that's just trying to make it political. Like, I felt empowered by the movie, and I'm as white can get. And like, I just thought the movie was the best Marvel movie. My favorites, as I said before, is Ragnarok, because I love the soundtrack, and I love like the seamless sequence of events from like poignant and like daunting to like fun and hilarious to like epic and all that. It was great. The best Marvel movie is still Black Panther, I think, indisputably, I would say. Maybe a little disputably, but that's my nasty opinion for the day, and time to make another dumb generic thing or whatever.